500 years ago, Beretta made their first batch of gun barrels in a small workshop in Brescia. These barrels were crafted to the highest standards of the time, with the natural resources Italy had to offer. "16 generations later, and that family is still making guns. And we were given the opportunity to share how they are made."
Hear that drumming? That is the sound of 4 hammers impacting and stretching that metal.
Today, we are in the heart of Gardone Val Trompia, given exclusive access to the Beretta factory.
You probably can't hear anything I'm saying because this is a massive factory filled with massive robots and machines.
This is part 1 of 3 tours.
But a stock like this takes 24 hours of work to get to this stage. Welcome to the Beretta Museum. This is one of the most awesome firearms collections in the world.
In this factory, over 900 staff make pistols, rifles, shotguns, in fact, any Beretta, both for military and civilian use.
I mean, this must be the most advanced system in the world.
Every one made with a mixture of cutting-edge technology and traditional gun-making craftsmanship. This place is the Willy Wonka of gun-making.
This is the most advanced measuring equipment we have. We need to understand which is the limit.
This is unbelievable, that Beretta ethos, that at every stage it should be perfect. The technology here is really blowing my mind.
And I will never forget this experience.
Beretta legacy, it's incredible. It's so wide, the range of products we develop and produce that you never get bored of anything. On one side for the hunter, on the other side for the competition shooter, for the professional user, the law enforcement. The other important aspect of this company is the people that work here. A lot of generations that have worked here, and so they pass on the passion of gun manufacturing. Only knowledgeable people like the people that work here can make this special project come true. To develop such a wide range of products, to make it competitive for the worldwide market, you need to have special people and special skill. And I think that here in Gardone, this is really the Beretta DNA, and so what makes this company and brand amazing.
So welcome to Italy. Behind me is the historic Beretta Villa, where the Beretta Museum is, and the historic family residence. Around me, in fact everywhere around me in this valley, is the colossal Beretta factory. To try and share the scale of this place with you is going to be difficult, but we are going to try. They make 1,200 guns a day here, 900 staff. It's amazing. Come, let me take you round.
The city of Brescia and Gardone Val Trompia are renowned worldwide for gunmaking. The majority of Italian gunmaking is done in this valley, and if you don't own a gun made here, one of your friends probably does. The Beretta factory is the biggest of the lot, and because space is limited in the valley, it's not a massive, soulless warehouse. This factory has character, tons of character. At one end you have the Beretta Villa, which is a beautiful place with a beautiful garden, to their action machining shop, which is full of cutting-edge tech. Behind that, you have one of the biggest cold hammer forging setups in the world. And then behind that, you have secret tunnels that go under the mountain. This place is hard not to fall in love with. It's not just a manufacturing plant, however. They also have an extremely advanced quality control system and a huge R&D team on site. And all of this is knitted together with an amazing cafe, a beautiful hallway full of cars, old posters everywhere, big fixtures around the place that celebrate Beretta and Beretta champions and Beretta history. It really struck me over everything else that everybody here is really proud to be part of the Beretta legacy. To start this tour, we're going to head straight to barrel production.
Welcome to the Beretta Action Machining Shop. You probably can't hear anything I'm saying because this is a massive factory filled with massive robots and machines making actions for their shotguns over and under, semi-automatic, assault rifles, pistol frames. I'll explain the rest in voiceover.
This is where the actions are made for every single Beretta. It's a room full of robots, CNCs, and some very skilled staff. This room, like many here at the Beretta factory, had been designed to be as nice a working environment as possible. Plenty of room on the walkways, loads of lights, skylights in the ceiling, as well as windows everywhere. But what shocked me here? They had trees.
In here is an example of what they do in here. They take big pieces of metal and they turn them into more useful pieces of metal. You take a forging, you true it up and you machine it. The same with the sovrapposto action. You weld the tang on, you finish it, the slides. It's a fascinating thing. And on these two boards, this is keeping track of how everyone is getting on today and this week, how they are versus where they're on target. You can go into it and see where the holdups are. It is fascinating. And as you've probably seen, there's lots of live plants and trees to increase the air quality in here and also make it feel like less of a factory.
The sheer scale of this machine shop is unbelievable. But if you are the world's biggest gun maker, you have to make some guns.
This is a robot going to a toilet.
And of course, like every room and department here, this place is as organized as can be. With each row of CNCs and robots being labeled, telling you exactly what they were making.
496 years ago was Beretta's origins as a barrel maker, and that is what we're going to look at next. In here is the cold hammer forging of the barrels, and in here is a little bit more of the handwork where they're going to assemble them. Both are quite noisy, but we'll show you what we can. So this is steel. These are big, long rods of steel that will be turned into barrels. They're all made to a very specific recipe. From here, they're chopped to length, and we're about to see them turned into barrels. This place is bigger than I ever expected. 1,200 guns a day. So they need a lot of steel. So after it's gone through that machine and one other little process, you end up with this little bad boy here, a machined lump of steel. This is destined to become a semi-automatic barrel that will either go on a Beretta or their sister company, a Benelli, before anything else happens to it. Because of the amount of stress that those machines put on the steel, they need to be stress relieved and, well, annealed softened. And so they go into these machines here. This creates a vacuum, gets it up to 600 degrees and runs it through a cycle of slow cooling, heating and slow cooling until they're perfectly soft throughout. And then they go over there to the hammer forging machine before coming back. Let's go and have a look over there. First stop post stress relief is this machine right here. This is the bar stock internal honing machine. And as you can see, there's a robot in there dancing around, taking barrels from these crates into the back. In the back, there is a honing machine. It's 2 stones. It goes in, the 2 stones open up to touch the walls, and it passes back and forth until this is honed. This is unbelievable for this stage, but it is really indicative of that Beretta ethos that at every stage it should be perfect. Hear that drumming? That is cold hammer forging. That is the sound of 4 hammers impacting and stretching that metal from that short piece of metal into a normal length barrel. What you're about to see is this machine taking what we've just seen come out of the honing machine and put it into a cold hammer forging machine. It takes that short bit of bar stock, loads it in, and then as the arm comes away, it starts to spin and you'll hear the hammer forging process start, a drumming. It takes that short piece of metal and there's 4 hammers, 1 on each side, and as it spins, it drums and hammers its way at cold temperature, stretching that metal into one of these, a shotgun barrel. The process is fascinating. And why cold hammer forging over just taking a bit of bar stock and drilling a hole in it? They say it makes for a better quality barrel with a lot less wastage.
There are multiple hammer forging machines everywhere. Every one a different shape and size and doing a different job, making all kinds of barrels for different guns. The sheer cost of this setup is mind-blowing. The barrel department is split into 2 sides. One side makes the tubes, the other side finishes them and joins them together if needed. Beretta's standard guns have monoblock barrels. That means there's 2 tubes put into a monoblock, the side ribs added, and they're all joined together. The start of this process looks the same as most other makers, but what came next is brilliantly modern.
And so the 2 tubes are now stuck into the monoblock, welded in place. The ribs are put on the side and wired in place. But now it's time to attach it all together, and that is done with traditional brazing. Back in the olden days, that had been one man with a torch working his way along. But a Beretta, when it can be mechanized, it's mechanized. So this is mechanized brazing. Semi-automatic barrels are done 8 at a time, over and under barrels are done 6 at a time. You can see here the fire on the outside, but that's actually just a vent. On the inside, that is just pure heat being pushed across the course of those barrels, getting them ready to go. This is pretty wild. I don't think I've ever seen a automated brazing process before. It's awesome. So every 10 minutes, another rack of barrels is put into the furnace. It travels through this furnace for 45 minutes at 700 degrees Celsius. Given that most guns are sort of brazed together relatively quickly by comparison, it really goes to show why Berettas are known for sticking together for a very long time and some other guns just aren't. After that 45-minute intense hellish heat, it comes into here. A tank where it's going to cool down for an hour and a half to normalize until it goes through the other end for 2 hours and 15 minutes. The brazing process comes through on a conveyor belt, batch after batch after batch. This really is an impressive piece of technology. I'd love to know how long it took to develop from the days of old, 100 years ago, where they're there with their torch to the point they are. I mean, this must be the most advanced system in the world. And I know I gush about just about anything, but this is particularly amazing.
When the barrels are cool, the wire is removed and the barrels are checked for quality and straightness. And the barrels are marked with the maker's name and barrel specs.
Here is also a first for me. This is the chrome plating machine. It chrome plates the internal bore from the chamber to the very end of the muzzle with 10 microns of chromium. What that does is give you a smooth, clean, rust-free surface. There to there. And it's all done in-house.
Finally, the barrels are polished, which is done by a robot, because Beretta.
Behind me you can see the mountains that border Val Trompia, that make Val Trompia. Gardone Val Trompia, where Beretta is. Gardone means to guard, the fort, the gate of Val Trompia. And part of the reason it's here, other than the fire and the water power that made making guns in those early days so easy, was because it was a secure place. However, now, as you've seen from the sky, wall to wall this place is filled. So what do you do if you need a rifle range in the valley? You drill into the mountain, and that is where we're going to go now.
I know it's just a hole in some rock, but this mountain-penetrating shooting range was a highlight of my trip, as were some of the guns we got to play with.
So this is where they do all the real-life testing of every new product.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on the type of firearm you're developing, whether it's military or an over and under or semi-auto or a hunting rifle, you have different tests you can perform, like the water testing where they put the raindrops on your shotgun to test if it's working under the water. You gun in a fridge,
dry, humid.
everything. So we have high velocity cameras so they can look also
so
these
when you
movements.
pull the trigger on a DT11, they see whether the crossbow comes out, any of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Marta then went on to tell us all about the origins of these tunnels. We'll be covering that in part 3. There was a selection of guns made just meters away: a pistol, a submachine gun, a semi-auto shotgun, and a straight pull rifle. Let's make some noise.
This isn't our normal fare, but we're going to have fun all the same. This is a Beretta PMX. Don't ask me any more about it. Let's go. Right. Suddenly I feel like I don't have enough freedom in the UK. Let's flick this onto fun mode. Right, 1301 comp with slugs. It's a 10+1. Well, that was amazing. Let's go back to the factory. This is the Olympic tunnel, where they have a celebration of all the medals they have won across the Olympics and all their Olympic champions and shooters. But at the end they have this: the reasons that your gear is better. But what I'd like is the antithesis of this. I'd like the excuses chart. My receiver's too heavy, and my barrels have a too tight bore, and my shirt itches.
Okay, so this is the standard over and under assembly line. It is organized in cells. So by subgroup, we have the trigger mechanism, the action, then the action meets the barrel, they marry, and then they continue the assembly till the end of the process.
There is more guns being built here than I perhaps thought there would be. There are racks upon racks upon racks of silver pigeons, 694s, ultralegeros. It's amazing. And the skill level of every single worker here is equally so. You've got people fitting barrels to actions, you've got people grinding down barrels, you've got people hand fitting the wood to the actions, you've got the people putting the final assembly, the final testing. This is, I suppose in my head, they'd go together and just clip together and go out the door, but actually the amount of skilled work required, as I've just said, is way beyond what you'd expect. There's a lot of passion that goes into a silver pigeon, and I'm probably guilty of not taking that into account. How many guns are they putting together a day?
An average of 190 guns a day.
190 guns a day.
Yeah.
More than many other gun makers make in a year.
Exactly, yeah. Consider that basically all the factory produces more than 1,000 guns per day, so...
This is one small corner.
Yeah, exactly.
And how many people work in this department?
74. A lot of people working on the Beretta. Here they do what it's called assembly, we call it in black, which is different from the assembly in white you do like in Beretta 2, where you do the premium guns. So all the parts are finished before being assembled.
Every craftsman in this room has to undergo 5 months of training for their particular task. There were so many individual processes going on here, I wondered whether this was standard for every gun.
How much handwork goes into a silver pigeon?
Every step of the assembly needs a little bit of fitting or hand working. So the over and under production, compared maybe to other firearms we produce, has a big percentage of hand working. So all the fitting can be from the receiver to the stock, or the trigger group needs a little bit of adjustment, because not every piece is sometimes coming from the machining is working all together. That's why they have to train a lot, because they have to understand where the fitting goes and make everything work perfectly and match correctly.
Yeah, as you can see, this lady here is regulating triggers. This gentleman over here is just doing the final assembly and just making sure the ejectors are timed.
Exactly.
And everyone has just got their specific task and making sure that every part along the way works perfectly. It's a fascinating process.
Yeah, exactly.
The Beretta way is to manufacture without compromise. If a task is done better by a machine or a robot, they get a machine or a robot to do it. But it's clear that Beretta value people. They value the skill involved in handwork and hand fitting and the power of the human eye. They do of course optimize the process, and everything in this room was efficient as it could be. It's brilliant to see where many factories take mechanization to the extreme, removing humans completely. Being Beretta, they optimize this human element to the max, of course.
At what point do these guns go to proof?
After the ejection fitting, the forend and the stock are not on the gun. It's going to the National Proof House. And when it goes back, they do like checks all the fitting, and also they put the stock and the forend on the gun.
And at that point, final inspection.
Exactly.
So there's still a really big human element to the Beretta story.
Of course.
Because I am a gun addict and I love to play, I grabbed the opportunity to work on the production line with both hands. This was an amazing experience, but an audience did make a task I used to be able to do with my eyes closed a little bit more stressful.
Basically built on a 694. Someone in the world is going to be really unlucky.
If you happen to end up owning this 694, you have my sincere apologies.
And from the inspection and assembly, they come into here, and every gun goes into its appropriate box or case. It's then got an outer put on it, it's put on a pallet and sent downstairs. From there, they go to distributors across the world and to your local dealer. It is mind-blowing as an operation, and the over and under section we've looked at in this video is such a small portion of what they do, but yet it is such an integral part of what they do. The quantity and quality of skill in that room over there rivals any gun operation in the world.
San Frutuoso Shooting Ground is an hour from the factory and is home to 4 compact layouts,
Ma che buio stasera.
a gun shop, and a sweet little restaurant.
So here we are at Frutuoso Shooting Ground. It is a beautiful ground from what we've seen so far. They have a very large gun shop in there. Most importantly, they have a 100 bird compact sporting layout. So, you've seen how the guns are built. Let's get on and shoot them.
We met up with Roberto Olivieri, who took us through a couple of the models made in the Beretta factory. Those were the A400 and the 694. In my opinion, the 694 is one of the best value for money guns on the market currently.
This is a 694. This
is the best production Beretta. Is that fair to say?
Yep, the best, let's call it mass-produced.
Best mass-produced.
This is the best value for money that you can get for a competition gun. It'll last you a long time, it shoots extremely well. Durability and great patterning, great balance on the gun itself.
Good pistol grip. All the features are designed to feel like a baby DT.
Yeah.
It is fantastic.
And many of the features they were born out of sporting clays. So it's not an adaptation of a trap gun or of a skid gun, it's just born straight for English sporting, for fee test, for compact sporting.
I must admit, my favourite gun you guys have made in that range, in England at least, we had that 30th anniversary with the tramline grip and the 31-inch barrel.
Yeah.
3 of my friends bought those.
Yeah.
They are so good.
That's actually, I'm using it as my trap gun because it's 29-inch, makes it slightly more, let's say, movable when you're shooting target. But I love that rib in the middle with
that tram line. It's amazing.
It's
and
amazing.
people go, you can't make that much difference. Go and shoot one.
Yeah.
You feel a little bit more dangerous with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's interesting that Beretta is probably the only company, maybe in the world, in any sector that can cater for
That's correct.
every single person,
Yep.
from a £500 pistol to a £200,000 shotgun.
Yep.
That is bizarre. And they do every single part well. It is fascinating.
We're always looking to do something extra. So there's, on the company's culture, you have to innovate. And so you're talking always about innovation. How can we do things better? How can we push it a little bit? So I wouldn't be surprised that we come out with many interesting things on the near future.
And it is like that working there every day, like new ideas are welcomed.
Yeah,
encouraged.
obviously comes, I'm not gonna lie that everything comes out the first time. There's some trials, there's some errors, but there's always this big push to do something new. Because obviously we have, to some sort, the responsibility of being one of the biggest companies to not just sit down and wait for things to happen. So try to push it a little bit forward.
And that's why Beretta has been the success story it's been.
Exactly.
Right, that's
exactly.
It's brilliant to see.
My love for the 694 doesn't take much explanation. It handles well, the barrels are good, it looks great, and it sits at an affordable price point. The wood is of course nice, the palm swell is great, and the dimensions of the shelf are intelligent.
Roberto, talk me through the Beretta semi-automatic range.
Basically, we have a long history. We started off with the old A300s and so on and so forth.
301, 302,
the Euricas, the so on, until we got to the latest models, which are the A400 family. It's a great overall gun. You have the advantages of a semi-auto, which is less recoil than an over and under. And in terms of performance, technology has so much forward.
I mean,
that you don't have many issues with it. And you have less recoil, which is the most important thing.
This was a bit of a revolution when it came out, that you guys would build a factory input recoil reduction system. How is this working now? It used to be in the back and then it went to a different stage. This is what, a Mark III and a bit?
What happens here, it's your face, your cheek is going to be touching the stock. And when you pull the trigger, the gun is going to be moving backwards, but your face is going to be on the same position all the time. So it helps reducing a bit of the muzzle jump. Obviously the recoil is reduced by over 50%. When you're looking at target speed, you keep your eyes on the target for a longer time, which helps on the second and third shot if you're going to take a third shot. So that's the theory behind it. As you mentioned, on the previous models, we used to have it on the back, so people didn't like the idea of the gun moving past your face. So basically we decided to move it forward, and that's it. I mean, who likes recoil? Nobody likes recoil.
So it's a 14¼ inch stock gun, 28-inch barrel on a semi-auto. It's not really my kind of thing. Really comfortable.
Shooting a 2.2, right?
Yeah, it shouldn't have been nice. It should have felt bad. And every time I've shot short semis, you end up
hitting your face.
That is fascinatingly good system. It's the first time I've ever used one. I used some of the original ones and I thought that was good. This is way better.
Yeah, and bear in mind that we're using only 1 ounce loads, so 28 grams. If we start shooting, if you could start going higher, you feel even more the difference, so it's great.
I like that. It's pretty as well.
Yep, that one's real pretty. It's one of my favorite.
We don't get a lot of these in the UK, obviously, because we don't really hunt with semis.
Yeah.
And if you do, it's pigeons, really. Or ducks, and so it's black or camo. That is lovely.
We continued shooting with a few other guns from the custom shop, including Carlo Gusali Beretta's personal SL2 carbon.
There was a lot of pressure.
for both of us there.
which I fell in love with.
This is the coolest Beretta I've ever seen.
But that's for another video. Back to the factory. Quality control departments are usually as dull as dishwater, but because this is Beretta, even in this department, they push the boundaries.
So this is the quality control lab?
Yes, it's where we perform all preventive activities to support the launches of new products. We work in pairs with the R&D team to identify the best solution for raw materials which has to be machined for components. In this area is where we perform the analysis of the steel for barrel manufacturing.
Beretta receives their metal from 2 carefully selected steel makers. When every batch arrives, they take samples, bring them to the lab, and test them.
The steel structure is key element for us because any imperfection in the steel may compromise the performance. And typically, the pressure the barrels need to pass at the National Proof House are 30% higher compared to a standard cartridge available in the market.
Nothing here is left to chance. They double check the structure of the steel with a microscope to make sure that the recipe of the steel that's been delivered is exactly the same as the recipe of the steel that's ordered. Beretta have worked for years to find the perfect recipe for their barrel steel, their action steel, and they don't want to deviate from that.
Okay, this is another very interesting piece of equipment in our lab. It simulates the behavior of the solar radiation on parts in the different areas of the Earth.
Yeah.
So typically we may look how the part behaves at high altitudes on the Everest mountains or in a very hot and dry severe conditions like a desert. We can simulate dry and humidity cycles during day and night. Typically these tests are performed to verify the structure or the surface finishing of a part which has to resist to the different environments.
So if you're coating a military pistol that's in Afghanistan, it needs to stand up to that. If you're coating a shotgun for hunting in Scotland, it's another test.
Exactly the point.
This machine turns 1 week into 1 year. A very cool piece of machinery indeed, and pretty rare for a gun maker to have it in-house. But it's not quite as cool as what came next.
Okay, this is the last test I want to show you guys, and it's salt spray test. The salt spray test is a test we perform to simulate the behavior in marine environment of our parts with a high risk of potential corrosion. This test, we have a climatic chamber with salt fog inside, and we are simulating the rust to verify how strong our surface finishing processes to protect the product environment where corrosion may be present. You see, this is a diamond light coating. This is the 4th day of test.
That is extremely good for 4 days in
salt fog continuously.
If you put a traditionally blued barrel in there after 4 days, what does it look like?
You need to protect it with oil much more than this. This is a new coating we are developing to increase the resistance in such environments. Here we are in the metrology department, which is the second area where we perform dimensional investigation on components and new parts. It's mainly divided in 2 big areas. The outer one is where we typically discuss with our process engineering and with our vendors, which are partners for us. We can compare measuring methods with our shop floor and with our suppliers. It's a key part of our process to validate their way of working. We have the opportunity to have 90% of our vendors at 40 kilometers far from here. So we can meet them on daily basis. We can go at their premises and discuss with them. The inner portion of the lab is where our highest technologies, measuring technologies here are set. We have coordinate measuring machines, CMMs. Here we are analyzing the trigger mechanism of a 12 gauge over and under. We are verifying that their manufacturing process has reached the expectations we have. This is another piece of equipment, very interesting and very useful, optical measuring device for the inspection of mandrels used for the cold hammering process. With the standard measuring techniques, this inspection takes hours. With this piece of equipment, in few seconds, we have the inspection performed and completed. This is the most advanced measuring equipment we have. I can tell you, not easily viable in any firearm industry so far. 8 years development we co-designed with our partner Zeiss. We worked to get the same accuracy we have with the traditional CMM machines with an X-ray technology.
The chosen component is placed in a low-density holder and the X-ray works its magic. The power of the X-ray can be tuned to work with any type of material or component, wood, steel or aluminium, whether that is to test the integrity of some bar stock or the quality of a stock blank. What's doubly clever about this is it's not just an X-ray. This machine creates an amazing 3D X-ray model so you can look inside from every angle on whatever item you wanted. Nothing is left to chance.
Once the process is completed, we have the station number 1, where all the slices, all the pictures which have been taken are merged together, and virtually the 3D of the part is rebuilt. When this process is completed, we go to the second station, a comparison between the CAD model. We overlap the real part, which has been reconstructed virtually.
And how accurate is that reconstruction?
The same, 2 microns.
That's very clever.
It's 8 years of development, so it has been a long journey. And we are able to see the geometry of the areas where a traditional probe cannot arrive, cannot reach.
Very, very clever. And again, how often are you pulling something off of the production line to test?
This is a technique we are using 95% of new components which are part of the bill of material of a new product.
The final piece of tech was one that took me a while to get my head around. And it was placed upstairs in the shotgun assembly room. This is the AI wood grader, the most Beretta thing I had seen yet.
You like it?
Oh, I'll tell you what, this belongs on my dream gun.
This is better?
Maybe. Subjective.
Why?
Well, that's a very good question. To be blunt, there's more colour.
This is one.
There's more to please the eye. There's more to interest you.
This is one of the most interesting questions. It has been a challenge for me. Because in the past we used to say, this is beautiful piece of wood because it's beautiful.
Why is this wine good? Because it is.
I'm an engineer, so I wanted to put some objective parameters to say that this is a good wood compared to this, which is a standard piece of wood.
So this is how it works. You put a stock in. A series of pictures are taken, and then a piece of software runs the photos against a list of criteria. Color, contrast, fiddleback, grain orientation, and even grain straightness. And then it tells you what grade of wood that should be. A grade that is built on science not subjectivity.
Question I asked you at the very beginning.
Why is wood
why
beautiful?
this is beautiful?
Because the machine says so.
Because the machine received good training from our qualified team.
Why can't you just get people to do this, you ask? People are subjective. If you show the same grade 3 to 5 different people, I bet you one of them says it's grade 5 and one of them says it's grade 1. Sometimes, computers are just better.
It is clever. Like you said, what this means is in 50 years, a grade 3 is a grade 3, a grade 2 is a grade 2, a class 2.5, everything is the same.
Although I'm sure this machine is really taking us one step closer to Terminator becoming a reality, I think it's awesome.
So I learnt a fun fact yesterday, and that is that this symbol on the bottom of most Berettas isn't a trident.
No, so we call it 3 arrows. It's not a trident. It's basically a symbol taken from battleship language. We call it dare in brocca in Italian, which means always get straight to the target.
No warning shots.
But actually, it means it's from battleship, so it's like a dynamic of an attack of a ship. You, as an alert, before you hit the front, and then you hit the end of the ship, and if the ship doesn't surrender, you go with the middle one, so you just get it sink. So
Okay.
that is, yeah, it's basically
The dark history of the Beretta logo.
yeah, exactly. The backstory is a little bit different. So
Yes.
this symbol was on a stone in the garden of a villa of a very famous Italian poet. It's called Gabriele D'Annunzio. He has a big house in next to Garda Lake. Story says that one of the members of the Beretta family got there in a school trip, and the poet was still alive at that time, and he realized that there was a member of Beretta family, and he said, "You see this symbol? You should use it as a logo of your company." So before the 50s, we didn't use this logo, we didn't have it. We used the Vittoria Lata, just statue, a winged victory that we have here in Brescia.
But we can still call it the trident?
Well, we know most of the people call it a trident because it looks like a lot like a trident, but we call it tre frecce, so 3 arrows. So
Tre frecce.
yeah, if you want to do like the knowledgeable one in a conversation, you're like, it's not a trident, it's 3 arrows.
You heard it here first.
Beretta worked years ahead of current manufacture, looking for trends and opportunities and responding accordingly. This is the job of the extensive R&D team, who a year ago launched the epic BRX.
Pietro, the product manager for Beretta. Talk to me about how a product is developed. We've got the BRX1 here as a great example of something you started with a blank canvas.
It's a long-lasting project. I've been to work on this project 7 years ago. As Beretta, we wanted to explore other segments in the market, so we thought, okay, let's do rifles. And we came up with a straight pull rifle, which is very easy to handle, very modular, very handy.
So do you come with fresh ideas, or are you importing ideas from other sectors of your business?
Oh yeah, so we got plenty of military experience here at Beretta, and obviously we can surely see it, for example, on the system. This is a straight pull, as I already said, but you can clearly see this is a rotating ball head, taken from our military experience and our ARs.
So this is similar to the ARX?
Well, yeah, basically the bolt head is pretty much taken from that side, yes. Here we have LOP adjustable, so we can adjust it with spacer on it.
So the same as the shotguns?
Exactly, same as our semi-autos and stuff like that. All the stock and the plastics here are high quality polymers, and even touching it, it feels nice.
And this is made in the same sort of way you'd make the polymers for your military rifles and pistols?
Yeah, we got lots of experience in that sense. So yes, obviously the grip feels nice, when you're shooting it, but also when you're grabbing it, it feels nice in your hand, also in tough conditions.
And how many prototypes did you go through to get to this stage? Because that finish is...
Oh, a lot. It takes a lot of time, obviously.
7 years worth.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been great. Another cool feature that this rifle has is the adjustable or changeable pistol grip. For now, we have just 2 measures, but we're coming up with others. So if you straighter pistol grip, you can have it, and stuff like that. So it's easily changeable by, you know, removing the screw, adjust it, and put in the screw back again. The magazine, which is 5 rounds, also for Magnum calibers. In this case, it's a 300 Win Mag, and it's, you know, it's capable to take 5 rounds in it. Also, we have a Picatinny off the box mounted here, so you can adjust it, but you know, you can take it off and mount whatever type of attachment you like. Also, the barrels are changeable, so by removing those 2 screws, you can change it, and you know, you change the ball head, the barrel, and the magazine. You have the old rifle, but with a new caliber.
What I find really interesting about this is it's much like all other Berettas, because of the size and the volume you guys can produce, it's great value as well.
On one of the main junctions in the factory is the Beretta World Display, a showcase of who Beretta are and what the group as a whole are about. Beretta now own many subsidiary companies and overall have more than 6,000 staff.
So when you're developing a product, how much of the R&D and the build is done on a computer and how much of it is based around people?
As we would call it, we are talking about human technology here. So for me, people at Beretta play a huge important role in developing guns, but also, you know, on the assembly line, and that makes up our quality product. All the shotgun is made by people, and our quality standards are high because of those people, and our brand reputation is made because of that people.
How many ideas fall by the side?
Quite a lot, actually.
Yeah.
But I can talk obviously about them right now. Well, you need to visit again.
I look forward to it.
If you didn't love or respect Beretta before, I hope you do now. This factory and this company is a testament to the world's love of guns. The quantity and the quality of guns coming out of this factory, Beretta Due, and the rest of the Beretta group is pretty amazing. And the very fact that it's been the same family at the head of this ship for 500 years? Wow. There is so much of this factory that we did not have time to share with you. And I hope that one day we can come back and see the rest. The culture here is amazing, from the management who love their staff to the staff who love their jobs. This is what makes Beretta, Beretta. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. And keep your eyes open for our film on the Beretta Custom Shop and the Beretta Museum.